Hey everyone. Getting a lot of questions about dating and divorce and why do we meet the same people over and over again and how to break that pattern. And one word actually stuck out was the word pattern. We actually do create the same patterns over and over again until we realize what those patterns are and what causes them. We're going to find ourselves in the same situation with the same person and the same issues. Now, I've been divorced for a little over 10 years. And my fiance now, she's great. I don't think there would be any issues. I mean, I checked off all the boxes. But we think before, like, you check off all the boxes, but you never know. But in between the 10 years that I was divorced, I want to say I had two serious relationships. One in the very beginning wasn't as serious as we wanted it to be just because we didn't talk. The last one was about 4 years, and I want to say 2 years or maybe even 3 years of that were very, very toxic and unhealthy. And we both played a role in that. It's just how it is. But I try to figure out why is it I'm dating the same women over and over again. I mean, I wanted to break that cycle. It's the whole reason why I got divorced. And dating the same people is just, what the hell am I doing wrong? And I found out it's just patterns that we have. I mean, anything that we do, if we want to change something, we know it takes more than 30 days. 30 days to be consistent. And when you don't have that consistency to change, you're going to go back to who you were or what you did prior. I mean, it could be work, it could be a new hobby, it could be anything, even going to the gym. I mean, I know some days I don't want to go, but I have to force myself because I know I don't want to break that pattern. There were two books that friends sent to me about 2.5 years ago. One is called The Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman. It talks about five love languages, and there are five, obviously, but you can fall in between any one of those five. I mean, I was two of the five. I actually took the test, as corny as it sounds. Yes, I did take the test. The second one is called Attached. I don't have the book. I did lend it out, but I'll make sure I get the name of the author as well. And it talks about our attachment styles. There is avoidant, there is anxious, and there is also secure. And when I was going on these dating sites after I got divorced, I was meeting people like anybody else. And when this last relationship happened, I was with her for, like I said, 4 years. When I went back on the sites after that relationship ended, it was the same people. It was the same women that I met 4 years before, or even 6 years before, back on the sites as well. And in the book, it says how these people that you see over and over again are being recycled. And I was like, shit, I'm being recycled too, because I'm back doing the same friggin' thing that I was before, meeting the same people. So what the hell is going on? So with the one book Attached, it talks about the people who are secure, you're really going to find them because they're in secure relationships, they're secure with themselves. And the people who are anxious are always worried about flight, and they want to pull the person in closer to them always, 24/7. They need that person, they want the affection. And the ones who are avoidant are very standoffish. And once you get close, they want to push away. And then the anxious person chases after them. So that's why you'll always see that the people that are always together, that are always breaking up, are somebody who is anxious and avoidant. You can be anxious and avoidant at the same time, which is kind of interesting because that's how the book explains it. And those are the people that are recycled over and over and over again. And what you have to do is you have to find somebody who is actually secure. And also in that book, it explains how some people that are actually secure are very hard to find because they're in secure relationships. And what we have to do is figure out what our patterns are, or figure out whatever our languages are, and work on that. And what you want to do is become secure yourself. So for somebody like me, I got a lot of shit that was going on in my past. Things that family members did or said, and things that we were treated. I was always the anxious person, but I was also avoidant because I kind of fell in between both. So when I was in a relationship, I would dive in it 24/7, like right away, both feet in, and all over the person. But then all of a sudden I got freaked out and I would push them away. But then when they were away, I kind of wanted to bring them back. So that was where my style fell in. And I wouldn't have recognized this unless I read the books. And that was important for me to figure out what the heck was going wrong, because not only for myself and my mental health and finding something that was going to last, I wanted to make sure my kids didn't see me. I have two boys, especially boys. I did not want to see them I didn't want them to see me rotating women 24/7 because that's just not who I am and that's not who I wanted to be. So for me, it was more about finding something or finding a relationship to where it's going to last, something healthy, where yes, you can have your disagreements, but also too, how do you talk about it and come back? So for me, it was more about my kids just as much as it was for me because I needed healthy, and I've never had healthy. So what I learned about myself going back from my childhood, I was always the type of person where I was waiting for the shoe to drop. And if things were going well, I had to cause some type of chaos to make something happen. And I was so glad that I figured that out because my fiance now, in the very beginning of the relationship, it was fucking boring. I mean, it was boring. And she knows how I am about that. And there was no drama, there was no arguing. We actually got along very, very well. And it kind of freaked me out to where, shit, things are going so well. What am I going to do? Because something's got to go wrong. So I started to cause issues. I didn't even realize it because she even said, she's like, do you know what you're doing? You're causing a problem when there's really not a problem to be caused because everything's going well right now. She's like, I know that things in the past were hectic. She's like, you don't need that. That's not normal. And that was a huge friggin' wake-up call. And one thing that made me realize this is the woman I actually needed to marry is one of our last arguments. The only time we've ever actually disagreed is when she moved in about a year ago, a little over a year now. It's been about a year and a few months. And there's always issues with the kids. It's hard blending families, and that's a whole other topic that we have to get into. But when we blended the families, it was just something that I had to get used to more because my kids are with me half the week. And her kids are with her 24/7. So half the week for 10 years, I had this house to myself, by myself. I mean, I even have vodka on tap, for Christ's sake, just because those are kind of days that I had. So you know I was definitely divorced. But now having somebody in here 24/7 all the time was just different, especially when she's out. It's her kids too. It's different for me. So regardless of the argument, she kind of sat down and said to me, I need to know what you're feeling and what you're thinking when you're getting this upset and this angry. And I'm like, what the fuck? Or what are you talking about? What is going on here? It's no F you. It's not you're an asshole. It's fuck you, Joe. You're a dick. She was actually trying to have a conversation with me and trying to figure out what I was thinking and what I was feeling while I was getting that upset. And it confused the ever-living shit out of me because I realized it was the first normal adult relationship and conversation I was ever going to have. And I was nervous as hell. Nervous as anything because I've never had that in my life. I'm sure a lot of people can agree with that and a lot of people can understand, especially when you feel like every relationship you've been in, at the end, when it gets toxic, it gets nothing but hate, anger, yelling, things being slammed. Thank God I have met somebody that does not like getting that angry, refuses to get that upset. She knows how to regulate her anger and her temper to where she doesn't yell. I mean, she might raise her voice, but nothing that how I would raise my voice. I mean, there's that typical joke where I'm not yelling, I'm Italian. I just talk loud. As some of you don't know, I'm a teacher, and even in my class, stop yelling. I'm not yelling, I'm just talking loud. This is how we are, and it's how I come across. I don't mean that I'm yelling, but with her, it's just different. So for somebody to say, what are you feeling and what are you thinking when you get that upset, really kind of threw me because it made me think about what was going on. Am I really mad at the situation? What's triggering me to get this pissed off? So it kind of helped where I knew I had to look at myself to figure out why I was getting so upset. And I'm telling you, if I did not read those books, I wouldn't be able to figure out the patterns that I needed to break for myself to have a healthy relationship. So getting back to those, the books, the one that's called Attached, I believe it's got a heart and magnets. And again, I'll post the author's name too as well. It talks about how people are recycled, and I don't know what happened in her past relationships because I don't know how anybody could have let her go because she actually is a secure person. And thank God I finally met somebody like that because it's like we're two opposite people that know how to balance each other out. And I finally found it to where I know for a fact if there's an issue to where things get heated and I need to control my temper. She's the type of person I can say, I need to just not talk about this right now and walk away because I'm going to say things that I don't mean and I don't know how to say it because she's a person of words and doesn't yell. So I actually have to collect my thoughts and figure out why I'm so pissed off, what's getting me angry, and to reassess the whole situation and then come back. It could be the next day because, again, I've never had to think about what's actually bothering me. I was always more immersed in the argument and in the conversation. So dating in general, it just depends on finding what you want, but also understanding your past. If you don't go back to your past and figure out what issues you might have to deal with, they're going to follow you into every single relationship that you have. I found out that stuff that happened when I was like 3 or 4 years old. I got lost on the beach when I was a child, and it took my mother hours to find me. So I was lost. And in my mind, that happened a lot. I mean, my father would joke around and leave us say he was going to leave us at an abandoned warehouse. So my anxiety came from being abandoned. And when I got lost on the beach, that sucked. So when I was dating people and I didn't hear from them, I felt like that little kid that was freaking out, like, oh shit, where did they go? What am I doing wrong? How do I fix this? And that really struck a chord because I really had to go back that far. And I'm going to be 48 tomorrow. And realizing stuff that happened 45 years ago that are following me in relationships kind of really fucked me up. But it didn't screw me up. It turned on a light that made me realize, shit, there's a lot of stuff that you had to work on to figure out what was going on in your prior relationship or figure out what's going on with you and how that carries over into your relationships. I'm not saying that every relationship would have worked if I figured this out a while ago. I don't think it would have worked out with my ex-wife. I don't think it would have worked out with the last two. And I just know that if I knew this about myself, I probably may not have dated the last two relationships. I might have saw the flags there before they even happened on, you know what, this isn't even a fit for me. I mean, to be honest, the one last relationship I was with for years, even that first date, like, this is not the girl. This is not, I don't know what the hell I was thinking because I kept saying in my head, this is not the one. But 4 years later, Jesus Christ, what the hell? But again, my fiance now, she was there at the tail end of it. She's always been around. So I finally got the courage to ask her out when the time was right. And the funny thing is, she kind of knew everything about my prior relationships because we've been friends for so long, to where I told her, I really want this, but I need to be on my own for a bit. It's not that I have to date other people. I just need time to myself because I know I have work to do. And the great thing about it is that she understood. She's like, I get it. She's like, I'll be here. She's like, if this is what you want, you need time to yourself. She's like, I'm willing to wait because I know it's at the tail end of this. Jesus, she was friggin' right, because 2.5 years later, I've never felt this strongly before in a relationship. Maybe it's because I'm older and I'm wiser. Maybe it's because of the books. Maybe it's a combination of figuring out a lot of other shit that I needed to figure out. But I was humble enough to read the books that the women sent me, because when I was taking these tests, I was feeling very corny. And I know for a fact my friends would have been making fun of me left and right. And the ones that are going through divorce right now or thinking about it or having issues, I actually tell them about these two books because it helped me that much. So hopefully it helps you. If it does, great. If not, keep looking, keep searching, but try and figure out what's going on in your past to have you repeat these same patterns and figure out what you have to do to break them. So until next time, is there anything else that you guys want to talk about? Email me, text, message, anything, comment, and I'll talk to you soon.